came on, she was like, we're going to start looking at, all the pathways that we need to, and they came out with their eligibility requirements. So she's been doing the things incrementally that she can do while we wait for this funding availability. And so, Daphne, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Jason. And good morning, Guam. And,
Hi, Daph.
I want to thank you for getting me on. Of course, the All Rise Act is, there was a lot of questions about it. And of course, there's a lot of questions about the ARP Act funding. And my understanding, and I know Senator Moylan just talked a little bit about it earlier. My understanding, and of course, I've been in communication with the governor, is that, of course, we are waiting on some level of guidance. And I am not, the technical expert on that, but of course, from our perspective, Rev Tax's perspective, of course, we always defer to the Department of Administration and BBMR. I know that they have been working, with Governor on the ARP spending plan and have been waiting on guidance. And so as well, on my side, DRT, that's something as well that my agency and I know other agencies are waiting on. But with regards to the All Rise Act, I did have a meeting with our mayors yesterday. And I want to thank, of course, Executive Director Angel Sablon and President of the Mayor's Council, Mayor Alec from PD, because they invited me to their meeting yesterday. It was very well attended by almost all of the mayor's offices, and we were able to talk about the issue of mayor's verification. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that today because I know our mayors have been, of course, there have been seeing a huge increase in the number of people that are asking for mayor's verifications. And of course, we did issue guidance back on July 2, just kind of basic eligibility for the RISE Act, because I know there was a lot of questions about it. And, when we did issue that guidance, we indicated that a mayor's verification would be required. And at that point, of course, we had a lot of people go to our mayors. I know there was lines at our mayor's offices. Mayor Melissa Savares had mentioned that I think on day one, they had about 700 people come in for a mayor's verification. And so, we recognized that there was about a lot of challenges. And we actually got reached out to by Executive Director Sablon. And also I know Mayor Savares had reached out to our Deputy Director as well here regarding the issue of the mayor's verification. So what we did was we looked at the RISE Act rules and regs. And if you look at the public law, there were actual rules and regs that were adopted automatically within 30 days after the public law became law. And so what we did was we looked at the list of documents that were required, and one of them actually is, and it does say must be provided, and it says mayor's verification. And what we did, because of course, it didn't appear that the language or that the director or me in my role as director could make an adjustment to what was required. What we did was we looked at how we might be able to expand on what's allowed for verification, because we don't want people, in this past year, as Bree and Chris, a lot of people have already gotten mayor's verification for other reasons, right? It could be for a public health program like the program in Salepi. It could have been for a Zuri Mengafa. It could have been for even a driver's license. And so, what we did, again, trying to work within the law and within the language of the law, what we did was we expanded what we are accepting in terms of, it's not the usual, what we usually require is a mayor's verification within 30 days that's addressed to Rev Tax. Now what we're doing is we've said, okay, if you have a mayor's verification, as long as it is from calendar 2020 to the present, because of course we're verifying that you are a resident for 2020, we're going to accept that. Also, we're accepting copies, and so it does not have to be the certified, sealed one that comes from your mayor. We're going to accept copies because, of course, we're going to be accepting electronic submissions of those. And it doesn't have to be addressed to Rev Tax. It could be addressed to public health. It could be addressed to land management. And so we've expanded it so that, the hope is that not as many people, that people who already received one will not have to go back to their mayor's office. Also, for example, say, I am part of a verification, maybe that someone else in my household has gotten. I can use that as long as, if I'm the applicant, I can use that verification, even though, again, it wasn't specifically addressed for me, but I am on the verification. And again, those are how we've expanded it. We're hoping that is helpful. I know, actually, that was the first meeting that I had with our mayors, and I'll tell you, you know what? Every mayor, I think almost every mayor's office from Mauricio to Chico was there, and it was really great to meet with them. I did mention to Mayor Alec, even though it's the first time that I've had that kind of a meeting with them, and they've allowed me to be there, I'm hopeful that that is not going to be the last time that we have that kind of opportunity
Right.
to share,
Yeah.
because the mayors have been really helpful to us. They've had their, and I'm going to, like in with for the for the non-filer forms and for Judy Manguffa, they had forms there. They've been helping, of course, our members of the community with trying to fill those forms out, trying to get those to us here at Rev Tax. But there were two particular questions that were asked, and I think these are questions that were posed to the mayors by the community. One, if the mayor's offices can serve as an official filing place for the RISE Act, and that's something. And again, because of course this is a first in first out, and we have to make sure that we preserve the kind of the credibility of the process, right? That's something that I advise the mayors know that's not possible. The other thing that was asked, of course, again, this was asked by, I believe, the community to the mayors, is can you just email my mayor's verification to Rev Tax? And of course, the mayors, when they do do such thing, I guess the idea was that they would mass email us, 100 or however many verifications. And that's also not, something that we advise is not going to be possible. And I wanted to share the reason is because when people submit their application, the application is actually it's not considered complete until all of the documents are submitted. And if we have to go through, the 19 mayor's office submissions to try to find, Bree Mantinani or, Chris Barnett, that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of delays the process, and it delays our ability to be able to pay. So,
Right.
Those were the two questions that were posed. I did mention, again, as much as we do want to work with our mayors, there are certain things that we have to, of course, make sure that we stick and stay strict with.
Right.
Our team is working, though, to identify how we're going to be accepting the applications, because we recognize there's a big demand. We're going to be meeting this morning to hopefully try to finalize some of the kind of the mechanisms for submission. Where, obviously we will be accepting, submissions online, submissions by mail, by Dropbox, and of course by walk-in. We're of course discussing the opportunity for us to kind of expand our walk-in services so that way it becomes easier for people to file, and those again are things that we're working on. I did advise, of course, the community the other day, and the mayor's offices, that we were trying to get the application out by the end of this month, so within a couple of weeks, both the online application and also the paper-based form. And and also again, we're working to find outlets, our mayor's offices, and perhaps other outlets where people will be able to access the form. So in the event they cannot get online. And again, these are all things that we're really working on and want to try to finalize today as much as possible, or this week as much as possible, because I know the ARP guidance is coming out, and hopefully once that comes out, then that will be the trigger for us to be able to again move forward with this right away.
Can we just go back to, because people in the comments for a while now have been talking about, oh, the governor doesn't want to pay this because why do we have to fill out an application? But what are in the actual RISE Act law, what do the rules and regs say about the process? The law, it requires an application, right?
Yes, the law requires an application. And also, I know this actually kind of is similar to what happened with the Judy Manguffa, where there was also an application form. Yeah. There's an application, and included in the application form, and this will stay true as well with this program. When we did a Judy Manguffa, there was two parts of it, right? There is, of course, the portion of the form that's going to require people to enter their name, social security number, their address, but also to answer the eligibility questions, right? And so the questions are, am I a resident of Guam? I make, 40,000 or less if I'm a single filer, 80,000 or less if I'm a joint filer, or if I'm not a filer and I'm a Social Security recipient, I am a Social Security recipient. Because again, of course, those are going to be the mechanisms for us to then go, utilize to begin the process of reviewing their information. And that's one piece of it. The next piece of it is going to be, of course, the Form 8821, which is the authorization for us to use their tax return information to process. And, I know I've mentioned this before, and I know, to be perfectly honest, I mean, for us, if it was automatic and we could utilize your tax information without having to go through a process, as we saw with the EIP 1, 2, and 3, it actually would be easier for Rev Tax. The issue here, though, is that what we're dealing with is a local law. and of course the legislature locally. How it works is our tax administration is of course governed by the Organic Act, which states that we follow or mirror Title 26 of the US Code, which is the Internal Revenue Code. The Internal Revenue Code is, of course, that's something that gets adjusted, puts into, it gets authorized, of course, by Congress and the president. That's not something that the local law can adjust. And so because, again, EIP, you can actually find the EIP 1, 2, and 3, or the rebate recovery credits, those stimulus payments, you can find it in the Internal Revenue Code. Of course, the local law cannot change the Internal Revenue Code. And that is why, we go through a different process. And again, it's to make sure that we protect our people because, of course, there's only certain authorized reasons we can access your information. Even myself as the director, I don't have the right to go into anybody's tax return information. Our job is to make sure we protect that. And I only have the ability to do so if I'm authorized specifically or if there is actual, a specific business purpose for that. And so again, it's to, protect our taxpayers, to make sure that we're only accessing, because it's authorized. And also again, it is required and it is in the law.
All right, Daff, when you talk about it's a first come, first serve, first in, first out, and we know that through the executive order, that the governor added the retirees, the government employees, and the federal workers. Do you have any idea how much, like, that specific group that the governor has added, what the price tag on that would be? Because it's kind of looking like we're all going to be fighting over this $30 million, which clearly might not be enough to pay everybody that the governor wants to pay in the All Rise Act.
Right. I mean, in terms of the funding, as I understand it, the cap is at 30 million, and I know it's first in, first out. And again, that's why, what we're doing here is just trying to make sure that we have processes in place to, again, preserve the first in, first out and make sure that we're doing and operating things fairly. Of course, again, I believe that Governor Leon Guerrero has advised that, again, this is, similar to other grant programs where there is cap on it. And so, of course, the 30 million is the cap. And again, that's what I understand. And so in terms of how many, what we did see, and I just kind of to go back to Azudia Manguffa, in Azudia Manguffa, we actually paid out, I think, less than $700,000, like just slightly over about 680,000. Although it was what was authorized was, I believe, 3 or 4 million. And so, although again, perhaps, and I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but although perhaps again, so it's difficult to say if 30 million will be sufficient to cover everybody who applies or not. But what I do know is for ourselves here, we do, what we do understand is that there are a lot of people who want to apply, and our job is to make sure that we do things properly. And if it's first in, first out, we want to make sure that if you come in, and you file on a particular day, as long as your form is complete and it meets within, of course, this cap, that we want to make sure that we protect the the credibility of the process, and we make sure that we process you again within again properly. And so again, that's how we're working to set this up. Of course, knowing that there is this $30 million cap, and knowing there's a lot of people who are calling, and of course already.
I know we keep talking about this $30 million cap, right, in the original RISE program. But in the original RISE program, the law had also capped it to just GovGuam not GovGuam employees, just the private sector. So has there been any discussions then with Adelup that getting another executive order and extending the 30 million? Because, you could apply the same logic here that, well, if we're going outside of the law to expand it, then we could expand the money.
Right. And so, of course, with regards to the actual, and I know with regards to the actual budgeting or the allocation of the total funding for ARP, that's something, again, that, I know DOA BBMR has been working with Governor on. What I do know, though, is that, again, the 30 million was what was allocated, and that's what we're working on and working with at this point. And I do understand, of course, and we do know that the executive order back in May did expand this program so that way it not only allowed for private sector employees to be able to qualify, but also government employees and government retirees, both local and federal. And I know there's a concern about that. But again, with regards to the funding, that's something that in terms of the budget, I'm not sure of. And I know, of course, even Senator Moylan did bring up the issue of the draft budget, which I know is being discussed with Governor Leon Guerrero and BBMR. But that's something, again, that even for, Rev Tax ourselves, again, we're waiting on as well. So, but we do understand the concerns, Sabrina. But my understanding is that, again, it's been $30 million that's been allocated for this particular program. And what we're working to try to do is, again, make sure that, that we process properly, that we make sure that it's done fairly, and that, of course, as people submit and their applications are complete, that we pay them, based on that. And again, we want to make sure that we do everything, right the best we can.
I wanted to, are you good with the RISE Act?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I mean, yeah. I wanted to ask about, so we're anticipating going into PCOR 4 next week, DAF, and was getting a lot of messages, comments, WhatsApps. Will Rev Tax be going to full open operations when we hit PCOR 4?
Well, that's something, again, we're still kind of waiting on the final PCOR 4 call and how that will work. Of course, we've been doing our best to kind of man our lines here and make sure things are in order. I think, though, even if we do move into PCOR 4, I think we still may maintain some level of I don't know if you want to call it like what we do, maybe like some level of triaging that we do out here, because what we recognize is that it's actually been very helpful to our operations, right? We do have, and again, so it's going to be difficult to say, but I think we still may maintain some level of that here, even if we open up fully. And in fact, what we in the way that we're operating, although we do have a line outside the building, we haven't been necessarily limiting the people in our building. People have been coming in, and we've been doing our best to serve as many people within our building as we can. So, again, with regards to PCOR 4, we're waiting on that. We're waiting on final guidance for how the agencies will be, administering or operating. But, even if we do move, I expect that we will still, at least for a period of time, maintain some level of, again, I'm calling it triaging, but for lack of a better term, I can't pull a term out of my head right now.
Tax refund triaging.
Came from insurance, so I tend to talk some medical terms at times.
So yeah, we had a comment here. Is DRT ready to handle the rush of applicants when the application is available, or the actual online and hard copies turned in? This is for All Rise. How would this be fair?
All Rise, we're getting ready for it. I'm telling you, even when we did Feb 12, one thing that our team is great at, I'll tell you, when we did Feb 12, we had our drive-through drop-off services, and even prior to the pandemic, where we would go out. I don't know if you recall us being at the mall location and also at the Ganesh Shopping Center on the tax days. So what our team has been really great at is in putting together operational plans to address issues of large demand in our building. We have so many different services. We just have to be ready to do stuff like that. I do anticipate there is going to be things that we may not foresee, but the great thing about our team is we've always been flexible. We do our best. We try something, it doesn't necessarily work. We try to adjust, and so that way we can accommodate better, or serve better, and we'll continue to do that. But yeah, we're preparing for that. We're talking about our final operational plan. I'm excited about being able to announce that soon. We're working on discussing that this morning. And again, I promise you, our goal is always to serve the best we can. And I'm very proud of how we have served this year. I'm very happy though that we don't have those lines going up to going up past Vinny's into the SNU anymore, in terms of the car line. We've always done our best. And if it meant that, me and our deputy director are out in the parking lot at 5, 6 in the morning with our team, if it meant that our team was coming in at 5 or 6 in the morning, then that's something we do. And I want to thank my team because, I know that when we do open up the All Rise applications, that we're going to end up coming pretty early and staying pretty late to make sure that they get processed and that we accept them. But I want to thank the community for being patient. As of course we've been waiting on the guidance, and again, as we've been working internally to try to get these done and to try to make sure that we're that we're getting out the eligibility information as quickly as we can. I did want to share though, our mayors did share yesterday, if you don't mind me sharing a message from them. One of our mayors, Mayor Louise Rivera from Tuning, she did share, of course, she's had some people who are coming in to get a mayor's verification who may not even have been residents of Guam in 2020. So, some of the basic, or who may even not even meet the eligibility threshold because their AGI is too high. So if your AGI is over $40,000 and you are, a single filer, you will not qualify. If your AGI is over $80,000 and you are a joint filer, you will not qualify. And if you were not a resident of Guam in 2020, you will also not qualify. So if you fall in those categories, of course, then there's no need to get a mayor's verification because you will not be eligible.
Daph, I'm sorry.
Again,
sorry, Daph, with the comment because I wasn't sure. Did you say that your utility bill can be used as a verification in lieu of a mayor's?
No, and so that's something, again, we were looking at alternative documents, and I know it's like frustrating, and I can see you, Bree, I can see you behind your mask, like, oh my gosh, Daphne, what? We did look at those rules and regs. We really did. I'll tell you, we looked at the rules and regs, and we looked at the language, and if you look at it, and it's on page 8, like starts at section 5, I think it's line 18 of the appendix. It actually states the following documents must, and then it lists documents. And then the very last one, which I think is G, allows me to increase or request for additional, but the language doesn't appear to allow me to adjust what's already required. And so, that's why we work to expand it. So we're not accepting that. Again, I don't know if that's something our mayors require for the verification itself, but we're not accepting that. But again, what we have done is work to expand on the verification. So, where again, we normally require it to be within 30 days, that's something that we're not requiring. Where we normally require it to be addressed to Rev Tax and to provide the original copy, we're not requiring that. If it's addressed to public health and management, another agency for another program, as long as it is from 2020 going forward, then we're going to accept it. It can be an electronic copy. We're going to be talking about soon how those will be submitted to us. But no, Chris, unfortunately not.
Okay. Tax refunds?
Okay, tax refunds. Of course, last week, I believe we processed through April 6th, and we're excited about that. On a weekly basis, we've been working with the Department of Administration to process, and so I expect we'll have another, run this week. And we don't have the announcement on that yet, but April 6th. And so for those April 6 filers, those had gone out last week. And if you mind me sharing that, we just did direct deposits for the first time in January on some 2019 returns. And what I've seen when I've been looking at our registers is that probably 10 to 12% of our payments have been by direct deposit. But for our July 1 check run, we actually had 18% of our people, getting paid by direct deposit. And so we're seeing more and more people trust in it. And of course, with regards to direct deposit, I'd like to say it has to be faster than getting it by check, because, of course, at the same time that the Department of Administration or the Treasurer is initiating those direct deposits, likely it's around the same time that the checks are being, signed and then, stamped and mailed out. And so, I really highly recommend for people to do it. If you haven't filed yet, and you can file when you file your 2020, and you have a refund due, go ahead and utilize the direct deposit option, because again, that is something that we've been working on, and we've seen people use it, and we know it works. I've seen it work. People have told me I got my refund right away. And if you don't mind, if I can talk a little bit about the advanced child tax credit, because it's now being paid out in the continental United States by the IRS. And we have been working with the IRS and the Treasury for several months. I know our Deputy Tax Commissioner was actually at the Special Economic Service meeting on Monday and had mentioned for several months now we've been communicating with the IRS on this particular matter. Unfortunately, we do not have yet the final guidance or the final implementation plan for the advanced child tax credit for Guam. We do expect it to be a lot of money for Guam. And, of course, we're excited about getting those funds because, historically, we've paid out about $30 million a year in the regular child tax credit, which means that for Guam, our government, at least on an annual basis, at a minimum, will get, $30 million going forward that is going to be funded that normally is not funded. We expect it to be significantly higher than the $30 million because of the adjustment to the rules regarding the child tax credit. And again, that's exciting and we're expecting that, but we do not yet have the final implementation plan. Again, that's another program that we're gearing up to work to implement as soon as possible. So as soon as we get the implementation plan. And that's another question that I know a lot of people have, Bree, and again, we don't have the final guidance or the final implementation plan for it. But I've got to go. I apologize. I have an 8 o'clock meeting. Again, I want to thank you, Bree. It's so nice to see you. The last couple of times I've been on, I know I haven't been always able to see you. Yeah. So it's always great to see you. And you honestly look really great, by the way.
Oh, you look great.
Oh, thanks.
Fabulous.
Jason and I, thank you.
But yeah, I miss you too.
Right on. You're looking good too, Jay.
It's always fun to be with you guys. I know a lot of times, some of the questions are a little bit hard, and I appreciate, you bringing them up. And I'll do my best always to answer the questions the best that I can, again, based on what I understand and know. And so, I always appreciate you guys. But thanks again. And I apologize, I do have an 8 o'clock call. But thank you again for getting me on. And again, thank you to our mayors for all of their help. And, of course, I want to just say thank you to the community for all of their patience. We're going to get these RISE Act applications out within the next couple of weeks. We're going to be working to get the payments out to you soon thereafter. And that's what we promised to you. So thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you.
Right on.
Bye, Daph.
We'll see you. There you go. Daphne Shimizu, Rev Tax Director, tasked with the All Rise.
You get more information, quality information from Daphne on a per second basis.
Yeah.
I think than anybody else.
It's tough. It's tough
in
to get in.
the world.
It's tough to get in when she's on a roll. I'm over here like, Dav, wait, Dav, okay. But she's trying to get that info out, and
Yep.
I feel for her. I feel for her because they gave her this All Rise, and now she's got to put it out, and you can hear that she's really working to try and make the process that she's inherited run as smoothly as possible.
And like she said, she goes, once they get the green light, she goes, we know and we realize we're going to have to come in early and stay late. But, she goes, that's our mission and we accept it.
Yep. A lot of comments here about this, why they need us to get a mayor's verification when we're all filing taxes. It's all in their system. I think Daphne kind of addressed that. What else we have here? I'm sure that Rev Tax has an idea how many and how much residents fall under the RISE Act eligibility. That's in their system. That's how stimulus checks were issued. So Rev Tax knows. Thanks, by the way, to our Facebook Live viewers here. Jimenez Jessa writes in, when are we going to file the RISE Act and how? Daphne had said right here just minutes ago that the application probably going to be available within the next couple weeks by the end of the month. It's 8 o'clock. Again, miss a link, miss a lot, so don't miss it. And let's get over to KUAM TV. On this Thursday morning, it's the 15th of July. Good morning.